Hi guys, and welcome back to another episode and a brand new season of Under Embargo with Chelsea. I really don't know if we're going to get through the entire season before the full game drops, but don't worry, we're still going to do a little looking forward thing about Marcus Panaki's career. The reason I'm starting on him is firstly to not spoil any of the signings. That's why I've removed this and put the attribute analysis that doesn't work in here. And secondly, because look, he got a cap for Cyprus already. It was only a friendly, and he only played a single minute in a 3-1 defeat against Morocco. But the lad has already got a senior cap for Cyprus at the age of 17. I reckon he'll be getting a few more over the course of this year, and I think that's pretty damn cool. So I'm very, very pleased for the young man. I talked a couple of episodes ago about how there'd been an update, and I thought there might have been some changes to the match engine. At the time, there hadn't been. There has now. We're on the 20.1 version of the game now, the newest version, where they've allegedly changed a lot of stuff about the match engine. The first update that's actually changed stuff, and I've heard that one-on-ones are working now. Now, that doesn't mean that everything else is going to be great. It might well have messed something else up because, you know, plate spinning and all that. So we'll have to see, because I've not actually played any of the friendlies because we've got a pretty set approach, and I've just been using that and let my assistant take over while I handle other things. We're starting off today against Manchester City. Again, it's the third time in a row we're playing Manchester City in a game. So that's interesting. Hopefully we can get revenge for the Champions League final. So there's that, if nothing else. But I am a little bit interested, and I think that our tactic is, we might need to tweak it again, but it's going to take me a few games again now with the new update to figure out what's changed. I also did a little bit of research. Newcastle once came 5th with 56 points. We came 5th with 83 points. What? And the most the team has ever got to come 5th was Arsenal when they got 75 points. So we got 8 more than the highest ever 5th place finisher. I think it was just a bit of poor luck, unfortunately. And not only that, there's been at least 5, from what I can remember, Premier League titles won with less than 83 points. And yet we came 5th. Crazy stuff, but there you go. One hilarious thing, though, is that Izzy Brown came to me and said he'd like to move. And I was like, well, no, I kind of like you to stick around. What would it take to have you stay? And he's like, I'd like you to build the squad around me. And I'm like, no, that is not happening. So he has definitely left the club, but more on that in a sec. And when it comes to signings, I actually really didn't like this window in terms of signings. And I think the reason for that is because I'm so used to going after regens and whatnot in my normal saves. It felt weird going after real players because you have a judgment based on what they're like, based on your actual real life experiences of watching them or hearing about them and stuff. And I think that kind of jades it sometimes. So I've had to be careful, and I've tried to go after, for the most part, players that perhaps I hadn't heard of as much over a more well-known counterpart, basically, because at the end of the day, particularly when it comes to a save like this, I'm never going to please people with the transfers I make, so I'm not going to try. I'm just going to sign what I want. At the end of the day, Chelsea wanted us to sign players under the age of 23, and that's what I've done. I don't think I've signed a single player that's over the age of about 22, in fact. So that's just the way that things have had to be. That being said, the board are still complaining about my transfers because apparently you can't do anything right. Even the most, like, desperately good ones, they're like, no, that'd be a C-, bro. So there you go. Izzy Brown left to go to Huddersfield. £10.5 million. I thought was a reasonable amount, in all honesty. We maybe could have got a little bit more, but I accidentally clicked reject on a bid from, I think it was Fulham, in fact, which is kind of sucks. But what can you do? He wanted the club to build the team around him, so I was like, probably not going to do that. Have 10 million instead. There was obviously a butt ton of loanees going out as well, but the main player out is Jorginho. Now, this is one of these ones where I would have much preferred he just stayed and we could have rotated around. The issue was, I prefer Kovacic over him because when they played, Kovacic performed better, he created more key passes, created more chances, and just generally speaking had better stats when he played. And I can't really knock that. Regardless of what you think about the player, if he's performing worse, you're not going to play him, are you? So, yeah, he wasn't getting a lot of game time, but then eventually he handed in a transfer request, he got pissed at me, and you know how it goes. Essentially, in the end, he was transfer listed. Spurs and PSG were the only two clubs that actually came in for him, but I thought, at the end of the day, we can get some of his wages off the bill and invest that in a younger player, and we can, you know, we've got Mason Mount, we've got Kovacic, and we've also got Jude Bellingham as well, so there's a decent level there of, like, stages of player, and I thought that was reasonable, particularly as we only used 2 in that midfield slot anyway, along with Kante, of course. So, yeah, 62 million in total was the fee. Not too bad. I think that's a reasonable one. We probably could have got more if it was, you know, in demand as such. But at the end of the day, that's what I chose to do. We got a bit of money for it, which we have used elsewhere. First of which was, of course, on Erling Haaland, which you already knew about, £23 million. He's done well in pre-season. 17 goals and 5 assists in his in his 8 appearances. Now, of course, that was against some absolute, like, toilet teams. Fair enough. I just wanted to get the morale up and get the team scoring and firing. You know, we're not trying to build a tactic at this point, so I was happy to do that. Then, of course, there's the youngster Jude Bellingham, 17 years old now, so he has now turned pro, which is kind of cool. I think he's going to be super important because he's so damn versatile. He's got pace, he's got all sorts. I'm actually currently training him to play box to box because of the 2 midfield roles that we use, he's sort of a about... Interestingly, actually, he's changed. Before, that was saying that he was worse on deep line playmaker, so he might. At the end of the day, he can fill him in either of those two positions, and I genuinely think he's actually going to get a serious amount of game time this year, because what people have told me is that this guy is one of those ones that actually does progress very, very well when you give him the game time. And due to a couple little niggling injuries, he might end up actually starting today, which I'm not sure if I want, but we'll see. 17 million in the end. Maybe paid over the odds for him a little bit. Again, I'm not too bothered about that for now. Next up is a little cheeky signing I picked up. This is Vulca Farenez, a Venezuelan, perhaps? I don't know if he's Venezuelan or Colombian. It might even be another nation. I'm not really entirely sure. From we picked him up from Millonarios, which means he's probably Colombian. No, turns out he is Venezuelan. Yeah, I brought in basically him to be a backup to Kepa because Willy Caballero was leaving. I didn't want to pay Caballero loads of money, and I'd much rather bring in another young player to do the deal. £2.2 million. Now, he's on a decent amount of money, but we kind of needed to do that for work permit reasons and whatnot. I think, although he's made a decent number of caps, end of the day, he wouldn't go... don't negotiate down any more than that. But again, I think he'll make an excellent backup. He's prepared to be the backup for us as well, which is the main thing. So I think he'll make an excellent one. And I think he might actually, again, be forced into playing today because Kepa picked up a knock in one of that sort of, trail of injuries. So I actually think he'll be a pretty solid deputy for us this year, particularly with Caballero leaving. So 2.2 million, I could hardly say no. And then it came to me building some backup on that right-hand side because we got Pulisic, but behind Pulisic, literally, there's not a lot. There's a huge gap. Pulisic is rated by some of my coaches at 4.5 stars, and then it's down to like 2, 1.5, and I was like, we kind of need something here with really high potential, someone that we can kind of bring through. And then I had a few little scout reports. We had people like Chiesa, the usual types, and I thought, okay, sure, but I know a lot about those guys anyway. I'd like to go after someone a bit different. And then I got a report about this guy, Thomas Chacon, who played for Minnesota United. And we've had to pay more than I would have liked to just because of work permit stuff, because of the Brexit deal we got, I think. I'm not entirely sure. Either way, I don't really care at this point. Look at the face pack picture as well, though. I'm a fan of that, though. 19 years old, playing on that right-hand side, be a good backup to Pulisic. £19 million was a bit more, but they were only prepared to let us have him for like 16 million. And in order to, if you paid 19 million, it would have let us do some stuff with the work permits. So I was all right with that. And I think he'll make a solid backup on that right-hand side with lots of room to grow into, because Pulisic was one of the few players last year that, thank God, he was around a lot. But if he'd have got injured, we'd have been in big trouble, and I think sometimes we could have rested him had we had a player like this. And then I thought, you know what, we kind of need a marquee signing here, because as much as I'm going for these youngsters, they're often cheap, they're players for the future. I wanted to try and find someone who was now, who could play in a variety of positions, and we could maybe spend a little bit of big bucks on. And that's exactly what I did. So we've got Jadon Sancho. The board could not be depressed about this one because it's a high-profile signing. He's under the age of 22. He basically ticked every single box that they wanted. 75 million was the price in the end. I thought we would have been cheaper than that, but initially, when I put in the 54 million bid, they didn't even negotiate with me. So I was like, okay, we're going to have to do this blind, which can always be a bit of a problem. The main reason we got Sancho is because he can play on pretty capably in both of these positions, because beyond Pedro, there's Hudson-Odoi, and I do want to bring him through, but I want to make sure that we're favouring him over Pedro this year, but I wanted to make sure that we've got more options, because otherwise it would just be him and Pedro. So Jadon Sancho can now fill in on both sides, be a starter on both sides, potentially. I think there's a lot of options for us with Jadon Sancho in the team, plus he's English, and I just thought it'd be a fun one to pick up. I wanted to see what he was like on a team I was managing, so that is the big signing of the summer, Jadon Sancho, on huge wages, of course. Not as much as I thought we were going to have to pay, but I'll take it. And I think he's going to make an excellent addition to the squad for this year and give us real depth in the wing positions. I was going to try and bring in some sort of fullback backup, but I think we're actually okay with the likes of Reece James and Azpilicueta and Emerson and whatnot. The centre-backs are great because we've got Ethan Ampadu's back now, and I think he's going to definitely feature this year. I was thinking about maybe doing the same with Miazga, but he went out on loan to Reading because he just didn't quite make the cut. But enough about that. Let's see how we're going to shape up today against Manchester City. What do we do today? So Mason Mount picked up a knock, but he should be okay to start. Hudson-Odoi, Pulisic is out, which means Hudson-Odoi will start on the left. Pulisic will not play, and Sancho will start on the right. We'll swap these two over. As much as this seems to be the one that my assistant always keeps doing, but for me, they're far more accurate when they're played like this. That just seems to be the better approach for me. Mason Mount and Kante, Emerson, James, Ampadu and Rudiger. Tomori's injured, and I think I'd rather just about start Andreas Christensen for today. Everything else I'm fairly happy with. Yeah, and Kepa's injured too, unfortunately. But the squad is definitely looking like we've got some more players in it for a start. I've moved a couple of lads up. We've got a couple of players back from loan spells. I'm just going to remove anyone who's not here at the club. So that's probably what we're going to go with. On the bench, Ampadu, Alonso, Bellingham, Pedro, Azpilicueta, Chacon, and Michy Batshuayi, who's not happy because I wouldn't let him leave to go to Milan for some insanely low number. I think they bid like 4 million, and he was pissed at me. And then I was like, well, how about a reasonable bid? Like, I don't know, your value, perhaps? And he was like, nah. So, yeah, me and Michy not on best terms right now. So, Manchester City, you'll notice they've signed Luis Zaha? Wilfried Zaha in there. They've got a couple more excellent players. They also signed Skriniar for like 78 million, I think. Aguero up top. I mean, gonna do our best, aren't we? It'd be so typical of me to be like, the match engine needs fixing, and then they fix the match engine, but in fact it makes my tactic way worse. But that's just one of those things we'll have to cross when we come to it. As long as the one-on-ones are fixed and there's a few less long shots and those fullback ones are, just those tiny little things will just make this so much nicer. Some of the menus do seem slightly different as well, which is kind of nice. Particularly the match menu, which you'll see when we actually play some off-camera games. Still hasn't got the ability for me to show you the match stats properly on there with like clear cuts and that, which is annoying because I really want you to be able to see that stuff so I don't have to keep changing menus. Oh, we can avenge. I thought that only worked for the same season, but okay, I'll take that. Get rid of the latest scores one there. We don't need that for now. Let's see how we do. Lots of new signings. Well, actually, yeah, there's a fair few new signings in the squad today, particularly the goalkeeper as well, Farenez. Not a player I expected to be making his debut for us today, but needs must. Now he finds Jadon Sancho. We need balls in behind here. And Sancho is just going to take people on, it would seem. Here we go. This is more like it. Sancho's all the way in, and he's gone for goal from the tightest of angles. But that is some dribbling ability there. My goodness. Oh, well tackle. Oh, what the hell? I mean, that looked like another brilliant tackle, didn't it? It's a penalty. Let's have a look at that one, shall we? We'll have a look afterwards. Fernandinho stepping up. And it's saved by Farenez. That is an insane piece of goalkeeping. Well done, lad. I'm still going to check because I didn't think that was a penalty at all. It looked like he just took the ball off of him. But Manchester City have been denied and then, and again by the youngster. Fair play to him. Easy going game so far. Oh, God. That's poor from us. Oh, well played. We just can't seem to win the ball in the midfield at the moment. That's our issue. Zaha now, running through. Zaha running through everybody. And well saved by Farenez. Bernardo going at people again. Oh, bloody hell. Dribbling is, we might try that maybe second half. Dribbling with the ball a bit more. Over the top for Aguero. Test of the one-on-ones. And saved by Farenez. That looked a bit different, I must say, but still he missed the one-on-one. Okay, well, half-time, they missed a penalty, which I still don't think was, but we'll see. Doesn't matter whether it was or not. He was still given mistakes by Reece James tonight, though. I want to try telling them to dribble more by running at defence. I know that might not jibe perfectly with the more direct passing, but I just want to see when we get those opportunities if that's something we could try out. Plenty of players for him to aim for, it would be fair to say. Abraham wins it for Sancho. Here we go. Go on, have a little dribble, lad. There we go. Goes past one. Can he square it for someone, perhaps? No, he'll just shoot into the... What? And if after a few games it just isn't working, then we'll just have to take another look, you know? Well, on the side for Reece James. Go on, lad. Oh, and just drives it wide. He would have been better trying to find a teammate there. But right off the back at the start of this second half... Sorry, right off the bat at the start of this second half, we've looked much better. Bellingham. It's not a bad ball, actually. Flicked on for Abraham! Oh my God, that was onside. And he missed the one-on-one. So we've had two one-on-ones today, both of which have been missed. That's just the current score on those. We've definitely improved in the second period, though. Aguero. And I don't want him getting sent off because we definitely need him. Emerson. Oh, and another big chance there. And I don't know if that was a one-on-one or not. City should be in front in this match. They've been very, very clinical in terms of just getting their shots on target. God, it really does seem like players just have the ability to go past people with, like, very little difficulty. Bernardo is getting booked. Maybe we can get something off the corner. Who's taking it? Reece James. And Rudiger! And a good save. It's going to go wide. We know that. Reece James needs to get out there. He's being done by Laporte. I mean, great goal for Manchester City, but it does now seem, and this might just be me imagining things, but it seems like now players can just dribble past virtually anybody. Aymeric Laporte is just casually dribbling past... Yeah. Okay, sure. I mean, it's still good play from City, though, the way they brought this down. Cut inside there from Wilfried Zaha and he scored, but oh my God. Brought down by Christensen. Go on, let's have something, please. Reece James. Find a cross or something. Oh my God. I've not seen, like, any crosses, any headed opportunities for us at all today. Or any stuff us getting behind. Nothing. Haaland. Bellingham. Oh, well played, Jude. Haaland. Using Reece James. Go on, need a good cross for once. Can he find one? He might... Abraham! Oh, that is against the run of play. My goodness. Tammy Abraham scores a wonderful... But that's the kind of goal we were scoring tons of last year. First goal of the year for him, and we are level. Jude Bellingham did an insane job of holding onto that ball in the midfield. That is what I would say. Reece James finally getting a decent delivery in, and Tammy Abraham rising highest, and it's 1-1 here at Stamford Bridge. We don't deserve it. Sorry about that. Camera battery died. Can we find a miracle winner that we would not deserve? Aguero. One thing I'm also noticing a bit more now is players are less likely to lose the ball, it would seem, just in general. Like, we're not winning the ball off people in the midfield with a press anymore. It might just be because it's City, though. Zaha, good tackle from Reece James. Haaland. Reece James has got to look in behind. He's going to lose it, isn't he? Oh, my God. Bernardo Silva. Just go straight through everybody. I mean, hey, finally a one-on-one has scored, but it does seem now that dribbling is super powerful. Maybe it's just this one-off match. But, yeah, players don't seem to win the ball under pressure in the midfield anymore. And it seems to be very easy to go past people like they're not even there now. Oh, keeper probably could have done a bit better, but it is a one-on-one scored, I suppose, so there's that. God damn it. Yeah, they're just, I don't know. There's no... I've not seen any direct passes really leading to anything. It's one of those things where a lot of the... I don't know. There's definitely going to be a lot more things that we have to look at, particularly as it's Manchester City and it's not really that representative. We'll see how we do in the first few matches of the season. They were much the better side again, but I do think that dribbling seems to be incredibly powerful because players don't seem to be able to lose the ball anymore, or they get penalties, but we'll see. It's good to see Tammy Abraham score a goal. Pedro's injured. Sure. I'll tell you what, though, Fariñez made a fantastic debut. If he'd have just managed to keep that final one-on-one chance out, then we would have been really in there. That's a shame for us now losing... The last 3 matches against Man City have ended 2-1. Unfortunately, the last 2 have ended 2-1 to them. So, not so good. But hopefully now, admittedly, we've got Liverpool in there as well. It's not an easy start to the year by any stretch. We're going to come back and do the first Europa League game. Because, I don't know, it's just Europe. It's a bit of fun. Do a few games off camera. Have a lovely old time. Hopefully we don't get sacked this season. Because I don't really have that much time in order to work on tactics again currently at the moment. I kind of thought we'd already sorted that. But maybe it's because it's now that aggression isn't quite paying off in the same way that it was before. So we'll have to have a look. I also don't want to do too much because they'll probably change it again before the full release comes out. Anyway, if you've enjoyed this, in spite of that, drop a like on the video, that would be gorgeous. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe, and I'll see you guys very soon for a game against somebody in the Europa League. It'll be a humdinger of an evening on a Thursday night. Hopefully we can get cracking on that and batter some teams in Europe and get some morale back going again. Anyway, I'll see you guys soon. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.